So today my guest is Rupam Deb. Rupam is a full-time private investor from Singapore. I first met Rupam online. I remember quite well. It was a Sunday morning when I came across one of his videos, and I believe it was a video where he analyzed China Maple Leaf, which is a Chinese company. And I remember liking it very much. And I watched another video and another and another, and I spent my whole Sunday morning just watching Rupam's videos. And I definitely recommend watching them. I'm going to post the link below. So whoever is watching this, please watch Rupam's video. And I remember when Andrea came, my girlfriend came back home that morning, I was like, wow, I really like this guy's content. It's really cool, really informative. I'm going to do something and I'm going to send him and Fen Liang, which is your partner. We're going to be talking about him soon.
Yeah.
And I decided to research China Maple Leaf by myself and send it to you. And that's our story, how we got to know each other, right?
That's right. It's serendipity, right? And thanks to the internet, thanks to social media, I mean, these connections are built, and these become connections for life. And I enjoy talking to you and enjoy exchanging ideas, and I'm very thankful and I'm flattered that you like my video.
Site called moneywisesmart.com. We'll get to that in a minute. But first, we have talked several times, and I more or less know your background, but I would like you to tell us more about where you come from, how did you start investing, what did you do before investing. So give us some color on your background, please.
Okay, so I have a bit of an unusual background. I mean, I have never worked in a bank or the traditional finance industry or any fund house. So I was. Where should I start from? I mean,
where are you from? You're Indian, right?
Yeah, I'm originally from India. I was born and brought up in India. I went to school in India. I studied engineering. I mean, I didn't exactly study, but I have an engineering degree from the Indian Institute of Technology, and then I did my business studies from Indian Institute of Management. But it's interesting. I have to mention here that when I graduated my business school, I couldn't even read a balance sheet. I had no idea. I mean, I didn't even know the difference between an asset and a liability. I guess I would have maybe scored a D in my financial accounting class, but it's just funny. Anyway, so
But let me interrupt you. That happens quite often. It happened to me with other disciplines, and I see it happening a lot. People, when they are forced to learn, most of the times they just don't retain the information, and then sometime later in life they will go back with pleasure and they will learn it.
I guess it also I guess it also speaks about in a way the education system, and I actually feel very strongly about it. Anyway, we'll come to that later. So after that, I predominantly had a career in sales and marketing. I worked in India, and then I went and lived in different countries. I lived in Africa for a brief period, lived in Australia, but my final work, I was in south of Europe. I was living in this tiny country, Gibraltar, which is very close to where you are, just south of Spain. And I was running an online poker business. So it was the largest business unit of an online gaming company. At that point of time, we were the largest in the world. We were listed in London Stock Exchange, and we straight went to the FTSE 100 in 2006, immediately on our listing. Was it 2005 or 2006? Whatever. So when I joined that business, so my classmate from business school, he was one of the founders. So, he pulled me there. I found it very interesting and joined them. When I joined it, it was a a single country, single product business. But then we saw phenomenal growth. Became the market leader. We were the first online gaming company to list, to go public in London Stock Exchange, and I was there till 2008. But then I quit. I moved on, and since then I have been investing. I've always been interested in investing. Uh, I started, that was, let's say, 15, 20 years back. I used to invest, but I used to do a lot of extremely stupid things, you know. And then once I was on my own, I embarked on this journey of self-education. Uh, got to know and read about Warren Buffett, and that was the aha moment of my life. In fact,
Was that I understand that when you, after you quit that the day job, you started self teaching or learning more about it. But
yes.
did you know something about investing prior to that, or it came after you quitting your job?
No, no, I was investing, but I was doing it stupidly. The thing is, that was one of the reasons I decided to quit my job, because it's very interesting. What happened was, so I was working very hard. I was earlier the global head of sales and marketing, and then I was the business head for the poker business, traveling extensively. I had a very hectic schedule, and I was doing well, moving up the career very very fast, earning good money. But I suddenly realized, and I was completely dependent on my advisors, the private bankers, for investing. And they would bring something, propose to me something, I would blindly say yes. And then one day I just realized that something is not adding up. I'm literally handing over the money to them, trusting them to invest and recommend. But uh, you know clearly they are not doing a good job. I mean, I think at least I had that intelligence to figure out that something was not right. And I realized that there was a huge amount of leakage. So I kind of calculated mentally that if I move out of my job, of course I'm moving away from a very high paid job. But if I take things in my control, eventually it'll catch up. And I think and that was one of the best decisions I have taken in my life. So when I started doing it myself, that was in fact, the self education part started even before I moved out, really. uh, Once I started reading, learning, that's when I realized that I was being taken for a ride. And everybody gets taken for a ride.
Today you've mentioned doing it in a stupid way, investing in a stupid way. I would like you to explain a little bit better what did you do besides handing over your money to the investment bankers, but what did you do that you feel today it was the wrong way to do it? And today, at least I find you really knowledgeable on accounting, on finance, on through the investor's eyes. uh, how or yeah, exactly, how did you come up to it? What did you study? Was it all through books? I know you've went to New York to do a course. I think it was New York. You're going to tell me how was your learning, your education as a value investor?
Okay, so yeah, first the stupid stuff. So I was basically doing a lot of stupid investments, and see, I'll be very frank. We went public, so obviously I was one of the early guys. So we all did very well. It was a huge IPO, so we all did well financially. Now, what happened to me is not unique, and it's a very common problem. When when a person is very good at what they do in their career, it also kind of gave me the false sense of confidence that, oh, just because I was very good at my work, I must be smart at investing as well. So we human beings, we are wired to think like that. And uh, funnily enough, investing is one domain where everybody invests, right? Everybody earns money, everybody invests, and it's very funny that majority of the people think they know what they're doing, you know whereas in reality a tiny percentage actually makes money. So I was making a lot of stupid investments, you know absolutely. I mean, looking back, and I actually blog about it. I mean, it's outright embarrassing, but I make it a point to
I wanna read those posts from back in the day. If you still have them, please send them to me.
I will. I went and at the peak of real estate boom in Dubai, I went and, bought some real estate there, because I thought that that's a cool thing to do. Fortunately, I managed to come out before the bubble burst. That was pure luck. There was no smarts involved here. Then invested in a lot of absolutely stupid businesses because I didn't have a framework. I didn't have a proper process. I thought I was very smart, but actually I was not. I mean, I was unbelievably stupid, you know. And
Do you
I
remember?
think,
Was it a click? Was it a process to gain that frame of mind, or was it something that clicked one day that you read or that you watched? Do you remember how you shifted from the stupid way of investing to the smart way of
yeah,
investing?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Now that was, you know, uh, I think just before the financial crisis, or during the financial crisis. Now, I think the only place where I can take some credit is that I somehow sat and introspected and did some introspection, and I realized that something is not adding up. Uh, I mean, if I'm so smart, how come I'm not making money? How come how come clearly I'm making the wrong investment decision? So fortunately, there was a point of time where I decided to apply the brakes, and I sat and decided that, okay, you know what, let me start reading about it. So I started reading books, and I think the first book I read, you can pick up any book on value investing and you immediately realize that, oh no, I mean, I was doing it completely wrong. I mean, the first aha moment which happens to everybody who wants to be a serious investor is they realize that, it is not the sticker code that is important. It is the underlying business. And then gradually you orient yourself to separate the two mentally, and then started reading Buffett. And once I started reading Buffett, once I realized that I was doing it wrong, it was a desperate situation, right? When you realize that, oh my God, I was doing it completely wrong, and I realized that I have to unlearn and learn it again. So I went into this massive self-education drive. I would literally sit and read for 16 hours a day, my entire waking moment. I mean, at that point of time, we decided to move back to Asia. So we were not sure where we are going to live. So we were kind of checking out different countries. We came to Singapore, and Singapore kind of ticked all the boxes. I set up my investment entity here. And one thing was very clear that, however, the mistakes were still going on. It doesn't happen overnight, right? It takes some time. But I realized that I have to fast forward the process. So started reading Buffett, started reading, all the books I can, all the popular books that, I'm sure you have read all of them. And with every book, I realized was a mistake that I was making. And so the
But
acceleration
when you
happened
say
very fast.
what exactly were you doing prior to that? Was it technical analysis? Was it just putting money where everyone was talking about. What exactly were you doing wrong?
everything that everything that you can think of. So I was investing in stupid private businesses. I was chasing the bubble. I was literally trading. I started trading options, and I was doing it completely wrong. I was making hundreds of trades, without really understanding the risk reward, the risks of options. Now, it just happened that some of these trades also went right. It just happened that during the financial crisis, I actually had some put options, not because I was very smart. It was pure luck. That's what I would say. And the biggest mistake was the mistake which majority of the people make, right? Because you focus on the stock price, not realizing that there is an underlying business, which is what matters. So that was the biggest mistake. So when you focus on the stock price, you get very worried when the markets are falling, right? So I remember having a lot of sleepless nights, and so you name it. I have made
Okay.
all possible mistakes.
So then
So
okay, please.
the only smart thing which I did was that realization that, look, I'm not being very smart about it.
And I need
It
to learn.
it took a lot of time, and it's very difficult because just imagine, just a year back, you are this high flying exec, has done extremely well, went on to the executive management team.
Did you buy a convertible car? No, a sports car.
I bought a don't remind me about that, Manuel. My wife and I, we drove down to Marbella, and like all my colleagues, I felt that, oh, you know what, we need to buy a sports car. So I just walked into. I still remember the name of the dealership. If you ever been to Marbella, it's called Salamanca Motors. So we went there, and there was a Maserati there. I know nothing about cars. I am completely clueless. We went there. I took out my credit card and paid a deposit on that car. And a week from there, I mean, we were driving a Maserati. It was a complete, it was a complete waste of money. I mean, you in Gibraltar, where the speed limit is, I mean, I remember to go from my home to office, walking would be much faster, because if I'm driving, I would have to go up the mountain, take a U-turn, come back, find parking. There have been days when I couldn't find parking. I had to drive back. Then I walked, and So basically, everything stupid. Had a very expensive lifestyle, and you know what? Uh, Here, I'm not even trying to be cute. I mean, that some people might say, "Oh, he's very honest." No, it actually helps me by remembering those days. And it is the subsequent learning, the subsequent self-education was built on that platform. That once that realization hit, I realized that, oh my God, I have to completely unlearn and relearn. I traveled all over the world, met, reached out to people who could. I mean, I was not only reading books, I was reading books, attending events, seminars, went and attended courses. So I went and attended the executive program in value investing at Columbia University. I did multiple courses on
Was it
Coursera.
with Greenwald?
It was with Tano Santos. So Greenwald and Santos, they alternate the course. So in my session, it was with Tano Santos, and also attended multiple courses on Coursera. I remember this course by University of Michigan, Ross School of Business, on Coursera, which was very intense, 8-month course. So I would wake up every day at 4 in the morning, and so I saw the recommended thing was you do it for like half an hour every day. So I decided that, okay, so if they're recommending half an hour every day, I'm going to do it for 2 hours every day. So I would attend I would go through the videos. I would, along with that, I would read. I would take all the quizzes, each and every, I had set a goal that I have to score 100% in all the quizzes. So it was like, you can say I converted myself into a learning machine. Uh, Read all the books I can lay my hands on. You talk of, intelligent investor, security analysis. Read a book by uh, Irving Fisher called The Theory of Interest. I mean, it was kind of an eye opener about how discount rates work. Uh, so,
All of that, Rupam, led you to where you are today. And I would say that you are and correct me if I'm wrong, at least on the stock side of investment, you are one of those long-term compounders investor. You, at least from what I've been able to gather so far, you look for companies that will be here for a long time and will compound through time and will get larger and larger and larger.
that's right. Yeah.
Were you always, although you've already explained that you've made a lot of mistakes, but when you started learning, were you always that type of investor? Because even within the intelligent investor or value investor arena, there is a wide range of strategies. That is one. Were you always like that, or did you hit your head several times until you understood which one worked best for you?
No, I actually went from being an option trader. So I was very fond of Nassim Taleb. I read all his books. So I went from there straight to the Philip Fisher, Charlie Munger school. So I did not spend too much time. Okay, I mean, like everybody does, I spent a brief amount of time looking for these, kind of nets, deep undervalued cigar butts, and at that point of time actually there I did come across such opportunities in Japan, which we were looking at, but somehow uh, this investing in asset light long term compounders, that appealed to me much more. These high quality businesses, what and that's what happened to Buffett, right? I mean, Buffett started as a cigar butt investor, but he was influenced by Charlie Munger, and he graduated, and that's what he fondly remembers. He said that Charlie was a fast learner. It took me time to realize the wisdom of looking for high quality businesses, where you don't have to get in and get out once the intrinsic value goes up, because these businesses, they by themselves keep enhancing their intrinsic value over the years, and even if you end up buying one of these businesses at not a very cheap price, over time, uh, time is very forgiving when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to these businesses, because these businesses keep enhancing their intrinsic value, and of course an additional return from the capital allocation. So those are the two areas that we focus on. If a market multiple re-rating happens, that's a bonus, but we don't really
Mm-hmm.
count on that.
Mm-hmm. So
So
today, how do you go about finding those companies? What's your process? Where do you start? Where do you source your ideas from? And then what do you do? Your typical company. Of course, there are several different kinds of companies, but since you start until you make an investment decision, what's your typical process?
okay, the only part where I do not have a well-defined process is the first part, which is idea generation. The ideas can come from anywhere. Like for example, last week when we were speaking, you gave me two ideas, right? And subsequently, I came and looked, and I got very interested in one of them. I mean, I even messaged you. So the ideas can come from anywhere. So I have this habit that whenever I get an idea, I immediately write it down and immediately come and do a check. And I checked and I found it very interesting. So once the idea takes the initial boxes, then we do the deep dive. Fan Liang, right? So I always exchange notes with Fan Liang. So I share it, we discuss, and then we and nowadays it doesn't take us too much time to pass an idea through the initial filters, and then you have Morningstar, which we use extensively, which kind of gives us an initial idea, a quick glance through
That
the
key
page.
ratios, the key ratios in Morningstar is one of the best resources I have found yet online. And there's a lot of them,
Absolutely,
but that one is like
absolutely,
a photography of the business for the last 10
absolutely.
years. Of course, it lacks a lot of information and sometimes it's not completely correct. You will still
Yeah,
have to open the annual reports and read them and all of
yeah,
that, but
yeah.
it's a great resource.